Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
We are looking at misunderstood Quranic verses, and the verse we're looking at now is from chapter 2, verse 193, and it goes like this: "And fight them on until there is no more tumult or oppression, and there prevail justice and faith in Allah. But if they cease, let there be no hostility except to those who practice oppression." So what does this verse mean? How has it been misunderstood? And how can we understand it today, Dr. Shabir?
Yeah, so let me start with the Arabic, and then we'll try to see where the problem lies. So this verse says, وَقَاتِلُوهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ فِتْنَةٌ وَيَكُونَ الدِّينُ لِلَّهِ. And a similar verse in the 8th chapter of the Quran has all of these words, but with one additional word. So it says, وَقَاتِلُوهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ فِتْنَةٌ وَيَكُونَ الدِّينُ كُلُّهُ لِلَّهِ. So the word kulluhu has been added, which means all of it, so that when you translate it as until there is no more tumult and persecution or oppression, and faith and justice is for God. So the other verse will say faith and justice, all of it is for God. So the problem lies in that some classical commentators on the Quran took the word fitnah here, which has been translated, as you read off, as tumult and oppression. They translated it as, or they would explain it to mean shirk, or associating partners with God, which would mean then that if we took that meaning, then Muslims would have to fight against anyone who is worshipping other than God, and would have to continue this fighting until those people cease worshipping other than God. And this will go contrary to so many other verses of the Quran, verses that speak about no force in religion, no compulsion, like La ikraha fid din, Surah 2, the same chapter, verse 256. And even the fact that Muslims are not supposed to be aggressive, just 3 verses previous to this one, Surah 2, verse 190, now we're dealing with 193, so just 3 verses previous, says, وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا. Fight in the way of God against those who are fighting against you, and do not be aggressors yourselves. Inna Allah la yuhibbul mu'tadin. God does not like those who are aggressive. That would mean that Muslims are ignoring that verse to come to this one to say that we have to go out and fight against all of the people who are doing us no harm, but they are worshipping other than God. So to interpret this verse 2:193 in the light of the rest of the Quran, we'll have to say that Muslims are to live in peace with everybody else. But if there is persecution going on, then Muslims have to defend the weak and the oppressed and the downtrodden against their oppressors. And that may mean using all legitimate means to keep the oppressor in check. And even if it means it comes to a military confrontation, that now is what Muslims will have to do. And of course, with that comes all kinds of drawbacks and possibility of loss of life. But it becomes necessary to drive back the oppressor. And the oppressed people do not necessarily have to be Muslims. Muslims need to support the oppressed and come to their aid, even if they happen to be non-Muslims. It just, it is mentioned that the dua, or the call of the oppressed person, reaches God, and there's no veil preventing that supplication from reaching God. So Muslims should take heed of that and realize that it should come to our ears as well. The plea of the oppressed should come to our ears. And it means that we should answer that plea and defend the oppressed persons. So no, it is not that we fight against other people just simply because they happen to be worshipping other than God. And it is distressing to see, Safiya, that a popular translation of the Quran, at least it was once popular, I don't know, I think after 9/11, 2001, that translation started to wane in terms of popularity. But this translation boldly, put in parentheses, long descriptions. Fitnah would mean those who worship other than God, and so on and so forth. So when a non-suspecting Muslim reads that, they don't know to associate the words of the English translation with the Arabic words of the original. They think that all of this must be implied by the Arabic words. And translations like this may have cause Muslims to have, a distorted understanding of how to live in peace with other peoples. But that's why we're here, by the grace of God, to try and explain these verses again, to look at them within their context. We don't want to misrepresent God, and we don't want a watered-down religion either. We want the authentic and pure religion, but we want it just as God said it. And in this verse, it is clear that the fitnah is persecution. Now, I should say something more about that.
Why do you think these scholars of the past made that mistake or misunderstood the verse in this way?
Well, it has a lot to do with the milieu in which they lived. They lived at a time when Islam was the ruling power, and the military forces of the Muslim Empire would guard the frontiers of the Muslim Empire and check all forces that tried to invade and tried to attack the Muslims and so on. So they interpreted things in a militant spirit. But I wanted to say something more just very quickly about the word fitna in the Quran. In Surah Al-Buruj, it says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَتَنُوا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ, those who cause fitna to the believing men and women. The word fitna there means persecution. Those who are persecuting the believers, men and women. So the word fitna can mean persecution. And within Surah Al-Baqarah, the second chapter, which is the one that we're expounding, it's clear that the word fitna has this sort of association with it, that people are, causing this persecution on the weak and downtrodden people, where it says al-fitnatu akbaru min al-qatl. The fitna, or this persecution, is worse than the killing that would occur within illegitimate and just war. So sometimes you need to go to war just to defend the oppressed people.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Muslim Media Hub, the new home of Let the Quran Speak.
Here we spread positivity and good. We help people experience the beauty of Islam and help them appreciate and understand Muslims.
This beautiful building we purchased at cost $2.3 million.
Yeah, we've already raised a third of that money, and with your help, inshallah, we can pay off the rest.
So we're looking for people who can give $1,000 each. If you can be part of the select group, that's amazing.
Otherwise, just please give whatever you can. Every dollar counts.
It's our collective responsibility to share the message of Islam with our fellow human beings. Please help us continue this good work.
It's a sadaqah jariyah, something that will continue to be a benefit to the Muslim community long after Safiya and I are gone.
Please support our work at muslimmediahub.com.
Your support is zakat eligible and tax deductible.
May Allah bless you and your loved ones today and always. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.